The bell, the bell as, hearing the bell as, hearing the bell as standing here, the bell being heard standing here, hearing ring out through the grey light of this morning, noon, or night. God knows, this grey day standing here and listening to this bell in the middle of the day bell, the Angelus bell in the middle of the day, ringing out through the great light to hear, standing in the kitchen hearing this bell, snag my heart and draw the whole world into being here, pale and breathless after coming a long way to stand in this kitchen, confused, no doubt about that, but hearing the bell from the village church a mile away as the crow flies across the street from the Garda station, beneath the giant sycamore trees which tower over it and in which a colony of rooks have made their nests, so many and so noisy that sometimes in spring when they are nesting, their clamor fills the church, and exhausted now, so quickly that sprint to the church and the bell, yes, they are the real thing, the real bells. Not a transmission or a broadcast, because there's no mistaking the full depth and resonance of the sound carried towards me across the length and breadth of this day, and which, even at this distance, reverberates in my chest.
Earlier, I spoke to author and Goldsmiths professor Blake Morrison, who was chair of the judging panel. I began by asking him about the book and why it stood out to him and the other judges.
It stood out from a very strong shortlist, which includes some quite established novelists like Rachel Cusk and Emma McBride and Deborah Levy. It stood out, I think, because it's a very unusual novel about an engineer, a day in a life, or a few hours in the life of this man, and yet it touches on so many things: family, work, art, politics, and the environment. And of course what struck a lot of people and been made something of in the tabloids is that there isn't a full stop in it. It's one long flowing sentence, and somehow you barely notice that after a while because it has this beautiful rhythm that carries you all the way through.
Now, the author Mike McCormack is the third Irish winner of the award since its launch in 2013. Any coincidence there at all?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Something about the Irish. I think they have this tradition of innovation and experiment that comes from James Joyce and Samuel Beckett and Flann O'Brien, and that gives them a kind of confidence to play and to try things out that maybe a lot of British writers don't have. And on top of that, there's a very flourishing Irish small press, small publishers scene where, quite generously funded in some cases by the Irish Arts Council, which looks after literature better than our Arts Council does. And so you've actually got editors who are looking for challenging new work. And all that is, I think, the reason why the Irish writers have come to prominence in this way.
What do you think that the Goldsmiths Prize adds to the world of literary fiction?
Well, I think it really has added something, because a while ago there were a lot of complaints that British fiction was kind of stuck in a rut, and that new things, that experimental things were not finding a way out. Agents were saying, no one will read this. Editors were saying, no one will read this. And what we found is there is this big receptive audience. So that we've defined a particular area that needed looking after, and we found a niche, and that's why in a very short time it's become a very well established prize.
Goldsmiths Prize is linked to the Writers' Centre. Could you perhaps expand on that connection at all?
Yeah, well, when I came here a few years ago, but one of my more recent things is to become director of the Writers' Centre. So we're trying to bring together a lot of the different writing that goes on throughout Goldsmiths and all the different departments, but particularly we put on weekly events, so that next week, for instance, we have Edmund Gordon, who's written a biography of the novelist Angela Carter, the first full biography. He's talking 5 o'clock next Wednesday, and then the following week at the same time we've got Adam Mars-Jones, who teaches here at Goldsmiths, talking about representations of disability in film and literature. So the Writers' Centre is, putting on events more than anything else, I guess, but it's a celebration of writing at Goldsmiths.
Blake, thanks very much for joining us. Thanks for your time. Cheers.
Thank you.